Every winter, as the nights draw close and mists begin to thicken, the people of Kislev tell their children a tale always told in a whisper. From the dark heart of the woods, the Hag Mother watches. For those who bring destruction to the forests of the Motherland, do so unto themselves. For every injustice comes retribution. Mother Ostankya knows no mercy. From the smoke, she will rise to claim her price in blood. So heed the warning of the wise, or be lost to the mists of the wood.
You gotta admit, Ostankya has one of the best starting cinematics in the game. Anyway, RuinusInsight here, welcoming you to part 1 of a brand new modded Total Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaign. The last patch gave us a rework of Kislev, including a new, fresh start for Mother Ostankya, so we're here to try it out. Now, I know this wasn't the planned campaign again, but we're in a bit of a limbo since the patch. SFO is not ready, and a lot of mods do remain broken and unstable. The community voted SFO runs are still on schedule as soon as those mods are up and running again. But until then, Ostankya's unique sort of scary monster woodsy roster is gonna have to tide us over. Plus, we'll be starting another Backer's Choice modded run pretty soon as well. Before we start this one, however, the housekeeping. That's a word everybody loves to hear, I know. So check out our Discord and join the Ruinous host. Consider joining the channel or becoming a Patreon to get access to perks like exclusive votes, or support the channel by purchasing your games through our affiliates in the description below. Now, let's take a quick look at the faction before we start here. So every resource building gives Ostankya bonus power reserve, which is a pretty unique faction effect. She's got global recruitment duration reduction for incarnate elementals, useful, sure, but not very interesting. And all her armies get a bonus 8 melee attack when fighting corruption armies, as well as a free 10 melee defense for her signature spiders. Melee defense being one of the best stats up there with speed, pretty darn solid. For Lord effects, she's got greater range for her own spells, reduces enemy power reserve, which is pretty meh, unless it can be stacked with similar sources of the same. But she does give magical damage to her entire army, which is very, very strong, on top of a huge miscast reduction for hag witches. That's about it for Ostankya herself. As for the gameplay setup, we're going very hard, as I find that to be the sweet spot with the AI stats modifier dialed up all the way to the max. Alright, that's about it. All glory to the algorithm, and let's get to it.
The wise respect the land and avoid bringing my hexes to their door.
Alrighty, well, Mother Ostankya may have put great emphasis on her hexes, but alas, we don't have those unlocked yet. For those unfamiliar with the way that she plays, we will consume Spirit Essence and thereby unlock the various hexes, and seeking to unlock the first 5 into unlocking the 6th and final hex, which will lead her to her campaign victory. The Spirit Essence that's used to unlock them is acquired via lots and lots of various things, but primarily acquired through battles and missions and a magical force occupation, and I think some special buildings as well. Spirit Essence 4 per turn, and a reduction for hexes and all that. We also have a reworked tech tree, and we also can spend Spirit Essence on various techs, hopefully to considerably power up the various things in the woods, and spiders, which I'm sure we'll be using plenty of throughout the run. And ooh, plus 20 armor for all the beastie units. That's probably something we gotta do pretty much immediately, as that looks real nice. And obviously we can see that the rework has completely changed Kislev technologies in general, and I'm excited to see what manner they have changed in, especially because I was never super fond of the way that Kislev technologies used to work. But anyway, the big thing about Ostankya is obviously now we have the ability to start in Kislev instead of here, which we will be doing, and I assume that it works exactly like Imric and Malice's choices to start where they want, and that means it'll be the first thing that we get on the second turn, so we just gotta end the first turn to do that. And we will unlock the first of our hexes by defeating this little army of Estrella Wrathbringer. Fair enough. Alright, I'm excited to see... 15 armor, not a bad trait. Excited to see this rework for Kislev in action. Let's get the first battle, which will be a cinematic despite obviously being a super weak army, but we gotta see our units in action immediately. And besides, they do have a Hydra, and I don't think the single unit of Akshina ambushers will be quite enough to bring it down from range. Go.
You know the horrors of the deep forest. You know what lies in store for those who oppose me. Take heart, for today I am on your side.
Alright, there's solid speech from Ostankya, and I always like to make the comment, the later lords have a tendency to have much longer, better speeches than the earlier lords, which is, which will be good since we'll be hearing from Ostankya a lot. Anyway, should be a pretty darn simple fight. We outnumber the enemy pretty considerably, have Vanguard deployed our Akshina ambushers, who are currently firing away at the enemy Witch Elves, who are heading directly towards us. The Witch Elves will be the target of our arrows or crossbow bolts, and then we'll target the enemy piles of bleak swords with our spells, at least as best we can. Alright, and it looks like the enemy Hydra has targeted us with that fiery Hydra breath, and will more or less clip our units of Akshina ambushers here. Looks like it was just a little bit too far to do a lot of damage, so it worked out fairly decently for us. The Witch Elves are heavily damaged, and while they will get into the fight, they won't be in the fight for too long, I'd wager. Our Incarnate Elemental Beasts will use its Howl of the Great Beast to lower their leadership, and then we will hit them in the back with both bats and spiders, causing a massive morale shock, and then causing both of the enemy infantry units here to rout. It looks like the other unit of Bleak Swords is well on the way to routing as well, and we've summoned a unit of the Things in the Woods from Mother Ostankya's Hag Witch minion, who will distract the Hydra while we plink away at it with those Akshina ambushers. Looks like the enemy infantry is destroyed. The enemy Supreme Sorceress now surrounded by our own units of Things in the Woods, with, of course, the Incarnate Elemental leading. Gotta admit, it's a pretty darn awesome looking model. And I do believe the battle is pretty much ours. The summoned units are gone, but the Hydra is not having a particularly good time, down to about 30%. Of course, Hydras do have regeneration, but it's probably not going to be enough. Polearm-wielding Kislevite warriors will keep it in place now, and of course this means taking damage to a unit that isn't a summoned unit, but I'd wager with the enemy lord down to about half HP. As soon as she's done, the Hydra will break as well. We're going to pop a Vissen's Wild Form on the Kislevite warriors, just to give them a little bit of extra armor. I didn't expect the damage to be significant, but it doesn't matter, as the enemy lord will rout, and the Hydra will do the same, giving the first battle an easy win to Ostankya. A little bit of damage on the Kislevite warriors, but nothing significant. Alright, there we go. Easy little first fight, but the first fight is always easy, so that's hardly surprising. 430 money, probably not much, but we'll probably need all the cash we can get immediately, and 3 Spirit Essence really ain't all that much either, so we'll pardon the captives, and I assume that...
There are places where the Coven's magic seeps from the land, befouled by the blight of corruption. The daughters answer with a purifying chant to purge the rot, at least for a time.
Alright, so yeah, that unlocks the first of our hexes, which removes all corruption from the target settlement province, which will be pretty interesting, especially if we're close to Kislev. To my domain, we could... purify a close-by province in order to settle it. I mean, I suppose the same thing would normally be us heading to ancient city of Quintex and doing the same thing here, but, well, there's no need to retread old ground. Mission issued, use the purification chant hex. We will do this, but later. There's no real reason if we're abandoning all this territory. Mission issued, consume 100 spirit essence. We'll get right on that. And Ostankya, you got your first point. So, I guess we'll want to get Fate of the Interlopers. It's just that as a passive, it's not anything crazy. -4 leadership. I suppose if we can end up stacking leadership, I think we'll actually want to go Inspiring Presence first and try to get as much points into creatures of the land to buff up our spiders, spider hatchlings, things in the woods, etc. as possible, as our first stack will at least be heavily reliant on it, and, well, to be perfectly frank, a lot of our stacks probably will, as we'll want this to play a little bit different than our regular Kislev factions. Anyway, you head to the Forest of Arnheim, please. And I think this one we can auto-resolve. I'm sure it's going to hurt because the auto-resolve is obnoxious. Yeah, but what can you do? Free Lucky Arrow? Sure, why not? Melee defense and range. That'll work for one of our hacks. And I guess we could maybe sack the place? Huh. Yeah, why not? Sack it. It's not like we're keeping it. Sack it and then go here. And I'm hoping that we can recruit some stuff. Alrighty, and I guess we'll... Oh, wow, these guys got really badly damaged. And these guys are at least anti-large, so I'm wondering whether it would be better to use spider hatchlings. Well, they are cheaper in terms of upkeep. They're also going to be super fragile. Probably won't last on the front lawn for too long. Nonetheless, it feels wrong not to have at least some spider hatchlings, so let's get some of them. And you trinket! Hey, that unlocks the witch's hut, but... yeah, we'll need 2 to get our first thing going. So we'll deal with this, and with what blessings and curses we're able to get later on. It'll be fun. Alright, and I guess we're gonna get our first tech, which, as I said, 20 armor. Don't really care for the bonus versus infantry for cave bats, because they're still gonna be kind of but 20 armor for everything here is just too good to pass up. I don't even really need to look at anything else, though. Snipe for Kshina Ambushers, I'm sure, is very, very solid as well. Magic item drop chance. Yeah, there's some good stuff in the first sort of elements of the Spirit Essence techs, and we gotta get those ASAP. Anyway, Ostankya, you actually leveled up again, so let's get you Creatures of the Land. And yes, we'll obviously get her base versions of her spells, but yeah. Let's see. We don't need to build anything, so I guess we can just freely end the turn in the hopes of getting that ability to move elsewhere. Which is why we're here and why we're playing Mother Ostankya now, even though we did do a Kislev run in Tsarina Katrin relatively recently. I guess it's not as recent anymore, but still recently enough. It's only less of a gap than we usually do for a particular faction. But obviously, as soon as SFO is up, we'll have the voted on campaigns. There it is, the Forest's Call. In the many long, cold months of hexing your enemies far from the Forest of Kislev, your woodland home has ever whispered to you of matters concerning your own soil. A decision must be made to steer the fate of not just the Daughters of the Forest, but of all Kislev. Returning to Kislev will mean abandoning pursuits here in Nagaroth, but furthering your aims for the good of your ancestral homeland. Yet, forging a new path in the land of Chill may prove as fruitful as it is risky. The not so aptly named Land of Chill because it has absolutely no chill. Anyway, leave for Kislev will give us return to Kislev, abandon all settlements. The Daughter's return gives us diplomatic relations with Kislevite factions, immunity to regionless attrition, that makes sense, devotion +3 for all provinces, and immune to chaos, corruption, chaos waste attrition, yeah, fair enough. It's only for 10 turns though, so it's not like it'll be very long. All Kislev building chains will be unlocked. Fair enough. Wait for Kislev and okay, just a straight up teleportation, fighting shadows, and I guess this was really supposed to be the first army battle, which I guess explains why that first army was so weak and pathetic. And we're gonna have a little bit of a tougher time since the auto-resolve hurt us that fight. Fair enough. We'll have to deal with it. I guess let's give you the Flock of Doom. I'm sure we'll need it. And head right into our second fight. What do we have at Plusk, by the way? So we have cave bats and spider hatchlings. It'll take to tier 3 to build the Widow's Tree. And I assume that we're probably actually going to want to declare war on Prague or on the Ropsman clan and take Prague for ourselves so that we actually have a capital, especially before the other Kislevite factions do. Also, I'd love your guys' input on how exactly we play this, as in which direction we'll want to head into, because as far as I can tell, we can go Norska, we can go Badlands, we could go into the Chaos Wastes. All is reasonably conquerable by us. I guess Chaotic Wasteland is uninhabitable, but it's at least yellow territory, but everything else around is nice. I wonder if Draca hates us, as in if it's -100 relationship. I guess we'll find out, but for now, let's get our first proper fight underway. And valiant defeat casualties high, there we go, that's what I like to see. And our front line is significantly more mauled than it was. Should be a fun fight. Go.
You know the tales about me. About Mother Ostankya and her curses and her cauldron. Take heart, because the enemy does not. But I will teach them well.
Alright, here we go. Ostankya, pretty darn talkative. And that's, well, I like that. I like the longer speeches from the lords. Anyway, this will be the battle that we consider to be the debut battle, the first battle of this particular campaign. That said, we do have a fairly decent position up here and woods to take advantage of as well. So we're going to try to lead the enemy army to us, which means either annoying them with Mother Ostankya and her hag witch here, or possibly with our ambushers, whoever can manage to pull it off. Anyway, we're going to move forward. Ostankya will lob a few of those magic, I don't know, missiles or whatever, just attacks at the enemy blob, and we're going to drop the first of our Flocks of Doom upon them. And it's vanilla Flock of Doom, and it's not going to do a lot of damage, maybe 10% HP damage to a couple of the enemy units, but the idea here isn't to do damage so much as to annoy the enemy enough to move towards us, which I'm willing to wager they'll do relatively quickly. They don't have artillery, and they don't have enough range units to actually threaten Ostankya and the hag there. And let's see, kill-wise, we got 10 and 15 kills, which once again ain't much. We're going to drop a Witch Brew in the blob of enemies, though, and that breath attack will give Mother Ostankya a few more kills and bump her damage up to 6.3k. And it looks like the enemy is now annoyed enough to start charging towards us. Fortunately, though we don't have the war sleds yet, the hag witches can function as harassing units, especially as this particular enemy force has nothing really that can chase them down and threaten them. If they had like armored skin wolves or something, it would be a lot worse, though the speed is pretty solid on these sleds as well. Still gotta be careful. We don't have Strider directly on Mother Ostankya, but we can activate Fury of the Land to acquire it, in case we really need to run away. But for now, we will keep on harassing the enemy, leading them towards us. I'm a little bit surprised that the enemy isn't actually attempting to go towards the main enemy army. Most of them aren't hidden, though about half of them are. I know why I said most when it's half, but you know what I mean. But these guys just seem to want to go after Ostankya and, well, the two hags, I guess. But that's alright. Oh, perhaps the idea was this. They wanted to cut us off with this unit of Marauder, or these units of Marauders, I should say. But we did have the Akshina Amishers moving around as well. And of course, our Spiders, our Kislevite warriors, working together here and waiting. We are interspersing the units of the Spider Hatchlings amongst our Kislevite warriors with the idea of adding the poison damage and making the damaged unit of Kislevite warriors a little bit tankier, because obviously the Spider Hatchlings themselves have very, very little HP. Alright, and the enemy is chasing uphill now, still taking damage from Ostankya and Co. Another good reason to do this as well is that we probably wouldn't run out of ammunition or use sufficient ammunition, generally speaking, from the Hag Witches. Unless we were to harass the enemy army like this. And we'll certainly have numerous Hag Witches in Ostankya's army, at least 2, maybe 4. I'll think about it. Depends on how we want to play her exact army. And generally speaking with this campaign, I want to sort of do more mixed unit armies. Mixing together the Kislevite units and the sort of beast units that Ostankya gets. And hopefully, if we can get Draika on the team, some malevolent forest spirits as well, and just generally wood elf units, just the woodsy sort of stuff. Frankly, it would have been nice to be able to get a Norscan ally, but I just don't think it's gonna happen. I did try it in a previous campaign, and it just didn't work out. Though those ice trolls just feel like they would work so well. But anyway, the enemy is nearly here. We can see our excited incarnate elemental of beasts in the woods. Kind of shocking that this thing is still hidden. I mean, I don't know how you're missing that guy, but anyway. Alright, and the Marauders have arrived. We will, well, it's sort of the enemy vanguard. They will crash into our lines of Hatchlings and Kislevite warriors, and we are still waiting a little bit on the other units, both the Spiders and the things in the woods, although not these things in the woods. These things in the woods will crash into the flank of the enemy unit of Marauders, but we will not yet summon our other unit because there's a limited time to use them. Anyway, time for the Incarnate Elemental to move forward, and there we go. Gotta love watching these things work. Fantastic animations, and look on these guys. I don't think I've ever seen any, if they have any sync animations when fighting other monstrous units, other large units, and I'd be curious to see if they did. Gotta remember to send this guy out anything like an Helpit Abomination or whatever, if we should find any. Anyway, Ostankya will drop another Witch Brew right in the middle of the blob of enemies, which are having a pretty bad time, by the looks of it. Our things in the woods, our non-summoned variant is running around in the background annoying the enemy, and we've got the summoned ones as well that are now going to fight the enemy Fimir warriors. Gotta be careful about the Fimir warriors with their armor sundering magical damage and their super high armor, but they should still be relatively fragile, and if we surround them and buff our own armor and damage up with Vissen's wild form, we should be able to get them off field reasonably quickly. They will drop down to about a third of their HP, while the Incarnate Elemental of Beasts wades in right into the blob that is thickest with enemy Marauders. And there we go, frenzied attacks coming in from it. Marauders look to be on the verge of shattering, and in fact on the verge was underplaying it a little bit, as with that the enemy army will shatter, and the first proper battle will go to Ostankya. Very nice. The summoned units will disappear, but otherwise we did fairly well. Decent little bit of damage on, I was about to say the bats, but it looks like they started with that amount of damage. Yeah, primarily about 50% HP damage in all the Kislevites, as in 50% of the HP that they started with. Nice. Alright, Father Nicholas's Mantle, tribute Strider, and not too much, not crazy useful, admittedly, though I do wonder whether Ostankya does have Strider. I'm also now remembering, maybe were the techs actually reworked on this, or were the Ostankya's techs always just very different from the other Kislevite techs, because normally she wouldn't have access to Prague and Kislev and Erengrad, would she? But anyway, I suppose it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of rework regardless, and I gotta reread those patch notes. Yeah, anyway. Nice fight. Certainly not a valiant defeat. Decent bit of spirit essence, not enough for our next tech. A little bit of cash as well. Lovely. Alright. And we will obviously occupy the place. As our second territory, we also... Ooh, we do have the Orthodoxy Church and Orthodoxy Oubliette. Orthodoxy support gained +3, Orthodoxy support gained +7. And that is this stuff, isn't it? Alright, and just out of curiosity, where do we get Ice Court support? Is it... I'm not entirely sure. Oh, it's this building. Alright, Ice Guard support and upkeep production for Ice Guard for all armies. Well, that's interesting. That is interesting indeed. Whereas this gives us no upkeep reduction, but it does give us more Patriarch hero capacities. And this one, this gives us hero capacity for Frost Maidens, which is great. Otherwise, it's very difficult to get Frost Maidens only using the Covenant of Ice, or Ice Training Grounds tree. I remember complaining about that last time I played Kislev, as it was just impossible to get a decent amount of them in a decent amount of time. New trinket, lovely. So do you have Strider? You don't have Strider, meaning we can actually make use of it. Lovely as well. Do we need the Earthen Hollow or the Orthodoxy Shrine immediately? We'll probably need cash to start, and 200 gold plus per turn isn't all that much either, so we'll cancel this, I think, and we'll delete you at first, and we'll see, well, we'll see what we see. Also, I noticed that you have barely any replenishment, and yes, convalesce, plus 3% casualty or punishment rate. We'll do that first, presumably after we get, let's say, campaign movement range, or... I do like the line of sight. I mean, either way, we want all three of these as soon or as fast as possible, so, yeah. Embodiment of the Forest, a woodsman for the entire Lord's army, and hey, ammunition for forest battles. I mean, it's something. I guess it is only for forest battles, though. I'm going to say Creatures of the Land first, just because this will also enable us to auto-resolve a little bit easier, and we will still be somewhat reliant on auto-resolve. Let's get you Wildheart and Flock of Doom, and then let's get you, I guess, a couple more Spider Hatchlings. Oh, you only can build one here. Maybe we should build at least one more Kislev Warrior unit instead of relying on the spiders. Once again, I do want a mix of different types of units in this particular army. And we can use Devotion to buff the army via various means, including casualty replenishment. So there is certainly a decent bit of... a decent reason to get that going. Orthodoxy and Ice Court boons, so that's based on the Ice Court support. Well, let's see what kind of boons we have going. Ooh, 15% upkeep reduction. Anytime I see upkeep reduction, I get very excited. What do we have here? Passive Urson's Ward for Warbear Riders. We're really going to have to take a look at these. You know, just so that it doesn't take a billion years to, you know, look through every single one, we should probably just take a look at them when we unlock the sort of first levels of those boons, and then deal with it after. Growth plus 15 for all provinces. There's definitely some really nice ones in here, though. I like in the rework. Good job, devs. Anyway, I don't believe there's anything to build. I do want to double check Diplo because we are in a new territory, but it looks like nobody wants to be friends with us right now. That's all right. They'll either want to, or we'll make them our friends by force. Wow. What the heck? The Goromadni tribe starts with a lot of territory. Granted, they're here to be destroyed, essentially, but still, kind of impressive. Anyway, that's on the turn. I hope I didn't forget anything. It is still very weird going from SFO to vanilla in terms of the fragility of units and seeing how long they don't stay on the field. But well, it's still nice. You gotta keep yourself sharp and all that by going back and forth. Let's see. Charms Above the Door is up and running, meaning we're gonna go straight to Convalesce for that growth and casualty replenishment. Ostankya, you cannot immediately reach Volksgrad, so we'll stay in our own territory. Move close to it. We should probably channel, but we'll need to encamp in order to get another, I guess, another couple of spider hatchlings. And we'll get her some Akshina ambushers, but we're not going to go for this sort of standard Kossar spam army for Stank, especially not early on. Our growth is basically non-existent here, so I think we're going to have to start with the Roadhouse. Ah, damn. Oh, right. One thing I'm really going to miss from SFO is being able to cancel the uncollect the income, which in SFO gives you a huge amount of growth. But, oh well, we'll just have to overcome. Vanilla's, after all, quite a bit easier than SFO is. Anyway, I believe that's another real quick end turn, but hey, I don't mind. Every quick end turn means faster growth and tech and all that, and access to fancier units. I'm just hopeful that, or hoping rather, that Prague doesn't get taken before we get the chance to, and we'll probably need a full stack to do it. I imagine these guys, the Ropsman clan, will have Kossar spam, and while we may not be using it for Ostankya's army, that doesn't mean that it is not still a devastating... Yeah. Also Kislev warriors, and ooh, we can probably force them to sally out. Good. Devastating combination or whatever. Let's get you the Strider, though frankly, I think your minion hag, which is probably going to have a difficult time keeping up with you, but, well, what can you do? Just in case, build the ram and stuff. The AI is a little bit of a coward in vanilla. A little bit less so in SFO, but still generally a coward, so I can't be dealing with that. We do also have our first Frostmane, which we could get on field just to steal tech, or to start leveling to put into an army, though we'll need to unlock the first tech in order to get it going. Alright, fair enough. That's on the turn. These guys will sally in and we'll get a battle up and running. And then consider going after Prague. I assume that these guys won't even attempt to confederate with us, at least not early on. And let's face it, having a big old capital like this is probably... Damn, they've got a full stack for less they've got the defenses of Prague? And really, you're not going to sally out. Oh, the cowardly AI. It said it's a valiant defeat and they still refuse. What do we have here? The Church and the State. The unique strength of the Ice Court and the Great Orthodoxy shall be key to Kislev's prevailing over its looming threats. Yet as you cultivate support from either side, you must be wary that stability is best maintained through balance. An upcoming public address presents an opportunity to show your loyalties one way or another, or not. To reveal your hand may be beneficial, but it could also be the first step towards splintering these bipartisan lands. So Ice Court supported gives us 2 support Ice Court training cost and 2 boons. Orthodoxy supported gives us devotion, which we can spend as a currency, versus the diplomatic route. We get 1 of each. I mean, now I'm kind of regretting not reading through all of them. I guess we're just going to go for the diplomatic... Oh, wait. Oh, but then we lose the 10 turns. Well, it's only 10 devotion. It's really not that much. Oh, wait. This doesn't say per turn. And this is per turn. That's a pretty big difference. But I assume we do want both of their boons. Just gonna go for the diplomatic route. All right, an unusual location. Oh wow, that's the first time I've gotten one, and it's the Exquisite Vineyard. Go figure. The Slaneshi corruption, I believe, is irrelevant to us. We don't care about it, so we're not going to burn it down. Man, this is the, I'm so excited I can't speak. This is the first time I've gotten an unusual location ever. As in, I've been playing the game every single day since unusual locations were added to the game, and that is the first time I've ever gotten it, so it's a shocker. It is definitely a shocker, but I'm pleasantly surprised. Looks like this campaign is truly blessed by Urson. Anyway, since these guys aren't going to sally out, I guess we're going to have to sally in. Going to be a lot more difficult by virtue of the fact that we won't be able to take advantage of our mobility. But what can you do? I guess except go straight on in. Go.
You know the horrors of the deep forest. You know what lies in store for those who oppose me. Take heart, for today I am on your side.
Wait, does she always look at the camera? Or just looking at the camera and then pointed at the pot, or the cauldron. That amused me greatly. Anyway, here we go. Gotta take back this clearly Kislevite town for ourselves. Should be pretty fun, and I'm also really enjoying the progression of battles. It seems like so far every single battle we've fought has added a few more units to the enemy army, as in the enemy armies have been getting bigger and bigger. Now, we did build a ram here, mostly because I was really expecting the enemy to sally out rather than to sit behind those walls, but I guess it didn't happen. But since we built a ram, we're going to use it. This is just for fun. We really don't need to do this, and in fact, this is possibly, or nay, probably a bad idea, because the Kislevite warriors will probably get ripped apart by the enemy towers on the approach. But on the other hand, why not? Why not use the ram? I don't think that Ostankya's army will be using a lot of rams throughout the course of the campaign. In fact, it'll probably be using very few, so we just gotta do this. In vanilla, the gates are so weak that we could just rush a bunch of spiders at it and destroy it without any trouble, but once again, let's give these guys a shot, though they are getting absolutely decimated by range fire. It's not like we really care that much if they survive or not. They are still pushing the ram, though, and while they are shaken, even if they take more further casualties, they will still have 30 seconds of unbreakable due to buy our blood, and that will probably be long enough for the ram to obliterate the gate. I think it's 3 hits from the ram to bring it down. There's the first. And these guys are out there and buy our blood, and we got 10 seconds for the gate to come down. It's got 2,000 HP. I think one more hit, 7 seconds, still on the ram, and there we go. Down goes the gate just as the unit breaks. Fantastic. Well, the enemy will continue chucking their axes and javelins at us, but the Incarnate Elemental, oh, that's a scary sight heading through that gate, isn't it? And we'll, of course, start ripping those marauders apart. Ostankya's in here as well, chucking magical birds at jerks. And here come the spiders. I hope none of these Norskins have arachnophobia, because they are not going to enjoy this fight if that is the case. Alright, there we go. Yeah, and this is definitely what I missed with, well, when I was playing Serena Katrin, with getting the, with confederating Ostankya. Not being able to build her unique stuff, all the beast units, meant that her armies didn't quite feel right. But anyway, these spiders have arrived in droves, and, well, this is probably going to be a little bit more difficult by virtue of the fact that, well, we can't make use of our mobility, as I've already said. But on the other hand, if the enemy chooses to blob up around us, that's a lot of flocks of doom, and it's a lot of witch brews that will annoy the enemy. Also, you gotta love Ostankya's attack animations. They're all really nice. Alright, tactically, though, there isn't too much to say about this army. More spiders are moving in. Everybody's approaching. Ooh, it's a lot of birds attacking at once now. Yeah, very fancy attack animations. Man, they really worked hard on some lords as compared to others, didn't they? Alright, let's see what else we got going here. Bounce power's at about 80-85% in our favor. I think maybe in SFO I would not have quite attempted this without a few more units at least, or maybe even, well, I was about to say get a few siege towers and send them up there, but probably still wouldn't be necessary. More spiders, maybe some more bats or something. Mostly because sieges are more difficult in SFO, in part because of the towers being more devastating, and in part because of the additional health and such of the walls and the ram and the non-buildable towers as well. Anyway, the enemy lord is having a pretty bad time against the Incarnate Elemental Beasts, although 2 of our spider hatchlings have shed about 70% of their HP, and will probably be losing it shortly, as in the rest of it. So we're going to try to back them off and send the bats and whatever other units we can to help out. In the meantime, we've gotten our Kshina ambushers up and to the enemy settlement and up on top of the walls where they've been firing down upon the enemies below. Ostankya and her Hag Witch are both down to about 50% of, well, at least the Hag Witch are down to 50% of their HP. Although the Incarnate Elemental has nearly killed the enemy lord and has racked up a solid 100 kills and 15,000 damage. when you get one of these big old elite tier 5 units to start the campaign off, it's always going to rack up a ton. Do a ton of work, etc., etc., and that's a lot of javelins, and it looks like the Incarnate Elemental did not like that one bit. That's alright though, it hardly matters, as that was the last volley that we're going to get from these Norskins as we take this settlement by storm. Lovely. Very fun fight, and ooh, it does look like the Incarnate Elemental will indeed bring the Lord down. Alright, there we are. Completely unnecessary to have damaged the Kislevite warriors, but I mean, we built the ram. It felt like we should use it, even if in vanilla it's not needed. Certainly damage on the Incarnate Elemental Beasts and several of the spider hatchlings, but that goes without saying, or hardly surprising, as well as the giant spiders are going to be the much tankier things. Anyway, close victory, and we will occupy the place for ourselves, getting an actual capital territory. Now, we can build a Stankus hut here, and we want to get it up and running as fast as possible, so we'll probably want to replace everything with growth buildings as much as possible as well. I also note that we are healing a fair bit more, which is great. Let's get another spider going, I guess. What we really would like is the ability to recruit more units per turn, but, well, as long as we're recruiting every turn. Now, the other territory is Yechich, which is apparently not occupied by anybody. Ooh. I guess the bad thing about that is it'll take 2.5k, I think. Or is it 5k to grab this for ourselves? Well, slightly iffy. I wonder if we can sort of bait these guys into going after it, rather than going after us. They are, however, spamming Kosovo dervishes, which I'd probably say our spiders probably will have the edge over. Kosovo dervishes are pretty terrible after all. Alright, Ostankya, you have the creatures of the land. I should probably get to you embodiment of the wood now. Or the forest. I think this is the first time I ever didn't get get early Root Marcher as well. We will also obviously want to get all of her spells, but her unique line, we might want to start saving for it as well to get the entire thing up and running as soon as we're rank 12. The main reason that I'm not super worried about her casting capabilities is just the fact that we already have a Hag Witch in here, and thus we can have her casting instead of necessarily having Ostankya doing so. I also would like to see whether the landmarks allow us to build beasts of the woods, or things in the woods rather. Otherwise it's an expensive chain, 7.5k of an investment. Okay, fine, so this is also fairly expensive. Provides us garrison, but no ability to recruit. And what about you? Also no ability to recruit, although I do like the growth plus 10 and the devotion plus 10. And that ain't bad. And that ain't bad at all. And we have 51 out of 100 for Orthodoxy and 50 out of 100. Weren't we supposed to get +1 for each of them? Go figure. Not that it matters over much. Oh, those were the +1s. A moment. And that's the currency we need for these. Ooh, we just need one more of each and we'll be able to get our first boon of each kind, eh? Alright, when we do, then we'll take a look at what else we want. Ooh, +3 melee attack for all, or melee defense rather, for all units. That's pretty nice as well. I'd really love to get... Yeah, no dice. I was about to say, I'd love to get upkeep reduction for some of our basic troops, especially in the early game, as that's going to help us out a fair amount. I also want to see what the Ottoman rework is like, so we'll need to hit Yechich either way for that. Anyway, that's another end turn. Oh, and I guess we could use the trinkets to do something. Brought the unclean. Is he immediately gonna... Yeah, he's immediately gonna declare war on us. Go figure. Alright, ooh. Huh, I wonder... It's unlikely, but I wonder. Prague's army is moving to Yechich. Oh, is this a bad idea? We could take advantage of it. I wonder if we can get them to fight Throt, because they're currently not at war with each other. They might be too afraid to do so, though. Join war against Clan Mulder, 34. Yeah, see, this guy's gonna be relatively useless, isn't he? Throt's nearby, and he will be a much greater threat than this guy, who, though, is in march stance. Maybe if we wipe this guy's army out, Rot will go for Prague and then hurt himself doing so. Certainly something sneaky to do, but I wouldn't say no. Ooh, more casualty or punishment rate? Damn, I guess we gotta go for cold storage as well. I do like the weapon strength for our beasts in the wood, things in the woods, but we don't have a lot of them as yet anyway. Income from post-battle loot ain't too bad. You know what, I should probably take a look at some of the other stuff, but there's little enough, I think, that's going to beat casualty or punishment rate. Especially in the early game, it just feels super valuable. Orthodoxy support gain +1 per turn. Oh, we should probably get this early on as well, and I assume that there's an equivalent one for the Ice Court. Or at least I would think so. But it is an easy way to get Orthodoxy support. Hey, more growth. That's nice. Since our growth is pretty terrible. Oh, there is Ice Court support gain +1 down here. Oh, and there's one down here, but there isn't one in this one. Huh, that's kind of interesting. I wonder if this is an oversight in that it should be here. Not that it matters over much. Alright, well, we'll see. Back to this guy, Grigor Kiriakin. Are you allied or trading with any of the Kislevite factions? You are currently at war with the Gormadny tribe, which we still do have very much to deal with. But we do want Prague for ourselves. Do you only have the one territory? You do. The other big problem, of course, is that we are surrounded-ish. But nonetheless, probably won't get a better opportunity to do this, so I think we're going to declare war and fight some fellow Kislevites because we must. Curiosity, though. Oh, relatively cheap to recruit that. Or recruit. You know what I mean. I guess we're attacking you, sir. Is he at war with anybody other than... No, they're not. Alright, fine. Well, let's attack you. Sorry, bud. Devotion will decrease by 10 and all own... Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Will decrease by 10 in all owned provinces. Wait a moment. I don't know what that means in context. So we have -22 and it'll be just 10 in general, not per turn? So it'll take us down to insecure, but that doesn't do all that much, does it? I assume it's not per turn as long as we're at war with them, but I suppose they'll be wiped out relatively quickly, and I'm kind of disinclined to wait until they're confederatable, to be perfectly honest. Maybe there's another way to confederate them, maybe there isn't, I'm not sure, but I think we'll do this nonetheless. Alright. Alright, sorry, Ropsman clan, and hey, look, you have a chance here. Valiant defeat, casualties high, you have a ton of those Kosovo dervishes, and we're still badly damaged, because I'm not letting Ostankya heal, and on top of it, we've been dropping by 5 mana per turn, so you could wipe us out. Good luck.
We warned you, the daughters and I. We told you what was coming. Now, it is here, and another of Kislev's foes must be destroyed.
Another of Kislev's foes, eh? The other Kislevites. Damn those Kislevites. They ruined Kislev. Let's see how we do against our fellow Kislevites, shall we? I'll be interested to see Kosovite dervishes face off against spiders, though more or less the spider hatchlings, and then the giant spiders. The giant spiders are going to be vastly superior, and due to their high armor and high melee attack and defense compared to the tiny stats of the Kosovite dervishes. I've said it before, pretty much every time I've played Kislev, but I've seen these frickin' Kosovite dervishes lose to goblin archers in melee, and yeah. They're not gonna do too well here, I'd wager. And speaking of, it looks like the first of the two have been destroyed. Another one is on its way out, though the enemy has way more where that came from. And we gotta remember that our army is still fairly damaged, so we do have to be careful about how we play this. Fortunately for us, the enemy army is in march stance, so A, we don't have to worry too much about chasing down the Kosovite dervishes, and B, well, the lack of vigor will mean lots of debuffs on them. On the not so great side, on the other hand, the debuffs will not be that severe because whereas in SFO, vigor reduction is absolutely massive and can be a huge debuff and cause army losses, it's not that huge of a consideration in vanilla. which I think is a shame. I think it's a really nice aspect of SFO, and it also gives stats that change vigor quite a bit more value. Anyway, the enemy tries to loop around us with 4 more of those Kislev dervishes, but they get trapped by Spider, Hatchling, Anvil, and crushed by Bat Hammer. And then, of course, there are things in the woods and more spiders over on this side as well. You may also note that we deployed in such a way that the enemy had to ford the water here, which meant slowing themselves down and, well, allowing us to divide and conquer their army. And pretty effectively, I might add. Well, keep plinking away. We do still have that unit of Akshina ambushers, just the one perhaps, but surely they'll be able to dish out plenty of damage. Plus, since Mother Ostankya gives magical damage to her entire army, every single one of her Akshina ambushers will also have the magical damage. As to whether we'll keep any in her army, I don't know, I'll think about it. We'll probably use some early on, but you know what, we might use them as a sort of placeholder. Use them early, like in, I don't know, 3 or 4 of them. And eventually, we will be able to build more Incarnate Elemental Beasts, which, well, you know, obviously will feel more appropriate in this army, whom we can then put in to replace them. Anyway, the enemy lord has been killed by the Incarnate Elemental Beasts, and as the lord has fallen, it looks like the enemy army has begun its rout. They are all in by our blood, of course. And the fact that the spiders had broken the Kislev dervishes on the left flank and have all moved in to tie up the enemy range units, preventing them from firing, also probably contributed to the enemy army routing. Lord dead, range units tied up and unable to fire, and army losses all combine to shatter this army and give the battle to us, moving us one more step towards getting Prague early. Ooh, nice find. A potion of healing. I am very much appreciative of that game. Why, thank you. Otherwise, the spiders continue to prove themselves vastly superior to the Kislev dervishes, but Kislev dervishes are so terrible that that's hardly, it's a low bar, let's say. We are a little bit overly reliant on our single entities right now, however. The Incarnate Elemental Beasts and both Hags continue to take severe damage in battles, so we will have to be a little bit careful about it. 1,000 gold versus a little bit of healing. I normally take the healing, but it's so little that once again it's not worth our time, so we'll just pardon the captives for the cash. This army will be destroyed. We will immediately occupy Yechich, and then presumably immediately afterwards head back to defend Volksgrad. We'll also want to recruit, let's say, another Kislevite warrior here. And hey, we will get the Wolfhearts on field, I guess, at the start of next turn. That'll be a significant power-up to our army. And otherwise, we will want to, assuming that there are no significant... Let's say we got hero recruitment, construction cost, hero recruit rank. Local recruitment capacity +2. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. The local recruitment capacity +2. Immediately upgrade to Stanitsa here at Volksgrad. And I guess we'll want to get the... lumber yard, which is pretty darn nice. Oh, right. Kislev really loves its resource buildings, doesn't it? Oh, wow. He's got 2 armies out here. I mean, it's mostly Skaven slaves, but nonetheless. We can also take a look at the witch's hut. Oh, actually, wait. Let me just see here. An effect when creating a blessing, flaming attacks, and charge bonus was 25%. What do we have here? Leadership, None of the stuff I'd really care for. I was wondering whether we should... oh, wow, plus 15% missile strength. Ogre Kingdoms, that one might be a bit of a difficulty. Vampire Counts or Coast? Oh, man, a lot of the good ones are here. Ammunition plus 50% would be nice as well. I'm just taking a look at what other options we have. Where are Skaven and all this? Oh, there they are. Armor-piercing weapon damage at the cost of base weapon damage, so it's just a direct swap, essentially. Fair enough. Grand Cathay, melee defense plus 10. Damn, that's nice. And armor plus 20, pretty solid as well for dwarfs. Well, everybody's an option. Anyway. Flaming attacks and charge bonus, frankly, I don't really care about all of that much. We could give charge bonus to the things in the woods, but flaming attacks might actually not be a good idea, in the sense that it could very much be a It could very much be a hindrance to us. The leadership might be nice on the incarnate elemental beast, however, because it is an elemental and thus can be, can start crumbling or whatever the version is.
The Motherland needs
We'll have to see. Anyway, Ostankya leveled up again, but I think we're going to forego getting more points in her stuff, though we do want to max out Witch Brew as fast as possible, and frankly a lot of stuff. But we will want her main... Ooh, wait, we will want to get Wildlings. Physical resistance 10% for all the beastly units, and charge bonus for them as well, but generally, other than that, we'll want to get her unique line, and we'll want the cooldown reduction on Goulias, because we constantly use it to heal. And the characters or leadership and all that stuff is all good as well. You, however, will keep casting, so let's get you maxed out Flock of Doom, and rather than evasion, I'm going to say... Ooh, 20 armor. Nice as well, but I'm gonna say we're gonna get Wissen's wild form maxed out because it's just super useful. The 30 bonus armor, in addition to the armor we already have on the spider hatchlings, will just make them tankier. Alright, I believe there's nothing else to build, so we can skip, and see what Mr. Throt does. I'm hoping that he'll, rather than going for us, will immediately declare war on Prague and besiege it, which will give us time to go to Volksgrad, but we'll see. We'll see what he does. Frankly, there's a very solid argument to be made for immediately trying to wipe him out before trying to deal with the Goromani tribe. I'm almost tempted to briefly peace out with them while we deal with Throt. I mean, it'll probably take 10 turns to do this, and they're willing to give us 4.7k, which is pretty solid. I think that's the best option here. We'll do it. It's a decent amount of cash. We'll go after them immediately afterwards. Our other Kislevite friends probably won't like the past with the treaties with them, but, well, they're busy with other things anyway. Also, the earlier we wipe out Throt, the less this campaign is liable to look like the other... okay, we're not gonna pay you money. 908? I mean, it'll eventually pay for itself, but it's a lot of cash right now. I'm gonna say... it's not going to pay for itself in even 10 turns. But I guess the relationship is nice. Ah, fine, whatever. Just deal with it. A little bit of extra cash coming in, and the extra relationship will have value. Okay. Huh. Are you in March stance? And I wonder if Throt is near enough to you to immediately attack. Ooh, if we can get a big old fight. Man, that's going to remind me of my now ancient... And, ooh, hello, Cauldron of Power. Occupy, loot, razor, sack 3 different settlements. They did not occupy Prague. Go figure. What was I saying? It reminds me of my now ancient but absolutely incredible campaign, the first Kislev campaign that I did with Boris Ursus, which had so many fantastic moments. But it's so old now, the Realm of Chaos one. Whereas my Katrina one was also awesome, but, you know, much more recent. Anyway, wondering whether we should level Witch Brew for this, just for the cooldown reduction, because that's a lot of Skaven slaves to be dealing with. And clever move by the AI. Notice that it's just out of range of the reinforcements from Volksgrad. Go figure. Well, I'm proud of you, little ratties, but we're still gonna have to fight. How much mana? Yeah, the cooldown won't matter. We don't have enough mana to make use of it anyway, so we're just gonna go straight up and attack you. Frankly, they might have attacked us anyway, even if we were drawing in our reinforcements, but we're just going to have to fight. Now, the big issues here are going to be this. Gorich and the Mutant Rat Ogre. I'm going to have to try our best to prevent the Akshina ambushers from getting charged by them. The Rod isn't going to be as much of an issue yet because he's not on his Brood Horror, and thus we could just distract him with stuff. Anyway, should be a really, really fun fight, as hordes of Skaven always are. Go.
You know the tales about me. About Mother Ostankya and her curses and her cauldron. Take heart, because the enemy does not. But I will teach them well.
You gotta admit, the regular Hag-Witch has a much nicer cape than Ostankya does, as she, well, you know, has no cape whatsoever. Anyway, here we go. I'm gonna fight some Skaven now, and I do wonder, I wonder which trinket part the defeating the Skaven will give us. Should be interesting. I don't know, I'm gonna keep looking at the trinkets, but it will probably be a while before we start using them in numbers. They are only one-time use after all, and they also cost that spirit essence to use, so, you know, gotta be careful about overdoing that, especially in the early game where we need the spirit essence to make the great hexes. As well as the techs, especially as we've seen already, there are some very nice ones. Anyway, all that aside, the trinkets and the hexes, and on the one-time use aside, we've got a big old fight against a lot of Skaven to win now. Rather than waiting for the enemy reinforcements to arrive, we have charged towards the first of the enemy armies. This first army is composed pretty much entirely of Skaven slaves, so we have a good opportunity to dish out heavy damage to them and shatter as many as possible. The main threats will all be coming in from Thrott's army, as he has a mutant rat ogre, regular rat ogres, Thrott himself, and Gorich. Plus, as we know, Thrott has the ability to summon a unit of rat ogres in the same way that we can summon things in the woods. So that's another unit of potentially very threatening units that our spiders, at least, will have a difficult time dealing with. Ooh, looks like the enemy will pop a pestilent breath through the middle of our units of Kislevite warriors. Fortunately for the rest of our units, these Skaven slaves aren't going to be a major threat, and it's just time to do as much damage as possible to as many of them as possible. And how are we doing on that front? Let's see, we got one unit that's shattered so far, not too many, and the enemy army is making its way onto the field already, so we'll definitely have to be careful. We did get a couple more units, a couple of Clan Rat Spears units, interestingly, who have peeled away. Actually, it looks like I missed it. A Clan Rat unit, a Skaven slave unit, who have peeled away and joined the fray, trying to loop around us. That's alright, though, as that means they've wandered into the woods and the things there are hungry. And so are the little spiders. Anyway, these guys will surround all of those rats. The bats will drop down from above, and they should tear through them at decent speed. Another blob of Skaven slaves have rallied and are heading towards us, so we're going to drop a witch brew right in their way. But we've got a big boy cresting this hill here as Gorich is moving towards us and getting ready to spin to win. We can't have that, so we'll drop an Akshina Ambusher net on them. I don't remember what the name of the ability is. Pack Trap. And then we'll have both of our units of Akshina Ambushers try to dish out as much damage to Gorich as possible. He's fairly heavily armored, however, and has 15% missile resistance, so we'll only be able to take about 20% of his HP. But we will continue firing on him as he starts attacking our Kislevite warriors. We'll allow these guys to take damage both from Gorich and the high damage dealing wolf rats. But the Buy Our Blood should keep them in the fight for long enough for our purposes. Alright, oh lord, okay, gotta bring Gorich down before he does too much more. He is down to 30% or 35% of his HP. Fortunately, he is still being distracted and not heading towards us as yet. The mutant rat ogre has arrived, and it looks like Gorich is broken, but I do believe he has some sort of healing on him, or at least he did an SFO, so I'm just going to assume that he does here as well. So we will keep firing on him until hopefully he shatters. Though, 133 HP, he'll shatter, but it looks like he'll escape because, well, we don't have any units to spare. And we gotta deal with all this, and several of our own units are heavily damaged to this point. Incarnate Elemental Beast continuing to fight, and ooh, nice Warp Lightning into the blob of units here. AI does love to spam that spell, but hey, so does pretty much any player that uses the Skaven, so fair enough. Oh, we gotta love those mutant rat ogres, though. And the Rat Ogre jumps on in. We're going to try to focus it down with our Akshina Ambushers in the same way that we did Gorich. And right now, it's a matter of using all of our spiders and Kislevite warriors and the Mother Ostankya, pretty much every single unit we have, to try to keep everybody stopped in place. We can kill the blobs of rats with witch brews and spells, hopefully, as long as we have mana. But the main thing is to bring down those rat ogres with the ambushers. And of course, we do have our incarnate elemental beasts in the midst of the fray, who is currently going after the enemy Packmaster. There's another Witch Brew. There we go. That's got to be a ton of damage for Ostankya, who, let's just take a look here, is up to 360 kills and 51,000 damage. Pretty darn solid for our first episode and, what, 4th battle or something? Alright, and down goes the enemy Mutant Rat Ogre. Even should, I was about to say Gorge, but even should Throt's main stack survive, at least the Mutant Rat Ogre is gone. And we gotta head right back into the fight, and not a bad thing to charge into the rear of the enemy like this, give them another little morale shot as we can. I see Bless with Filth has come down upon some of the enemy units, or was down upon some of the enemy units. But if they can buff them, we can hit them with some AoE damage as a Flock of Doom comes down as well. Spiders and Kislevite warriors are still holding, but just barely. Mother Ostankya is down to 20% of her HP. The Incarnate Elemental is down to 15%, and oh, would it be awful to lose it this early in the campaign. Kislevite warriors 10%, Spider Hatchlings 10%, and other Kislevite warriors and other Spider units 15%. The balance of power is 50-50%. Or 50-50, and well, honestly, this could really go either way. And we may even have to back our elemental off lest they get surrounded by rat ogres or wolf rats or something and killed off. And of course, all of the enemy units of Skaven Slave Slingers have been attempting to focus it down. Throt is also still in the middle of the fight. Oh, he does still have Bless with Filth on him. He's still in the middle of the fight. And the numbers have really dwindled, both of our own units and our Skaven. Our own units and the Skaven. And it sort of devolved into a skirmish. Fortunately, we could do a decent amount of cycle charging with Ostankya on her sled, and, well, just keep the Incarnate Elemental of Beasts near. We do still have that Ghoulias spell to heal it up, though, to be honest, it isn't all that much healing. I think it heals it for, like, 110 HP or 120 HP. It's really not a lot. The last time I checked. But of course we will have other ways to keep it healed later on. Assuming that we get to keep it here. Balance of power has finally shifted in our favor. Throt is still in the fight, but about at half of his HP, though Throt does have regeneration. Packmaster is also surrounded by the remnants of some of our Kislevite warriors here, and by the looks of it, the Packmaster is going to rout. Of course, the name of the game, or the nature of fighting the Skaven, is dealing with units routing and rallying constantly, which they're very much still doing so. Another Pestilent Breath. Looks like the enemy is still casting with that Grey Seer of Plague, which would have been nice to bring down, but, well, couldn't quite spare anybody. And, oh, the Elemental of Beasts down to 1,000 HP, but this thing delivers so much damage, both with its direct hits and its Flock of Doom ability. Incarnate Flock of Doom. It's up to 213 kills and 26,000 damage after all, so we just can't keep it out of the fight. Not much of a choice in the matter. Plus, it's just so entertaining to watch, so can't be backing it off. Alright, and it looks like just barely we will manage to pull that off. I suppose the Ikshina ambushers could have actually still joined the fight in melee, should they have needed to. But it looks like they were able to essentially run out of ammunition instead. One of the units of Kislevite warriors, rather, down to 18. A bunch of them, well, pretty much every single melee unit, our Hag Witch, our Incarnate Elemental, most of our spiders are severely damaged, if not close to being destroyed, but hey, this is 2 of Throt's stacks, plus that Ropspin clan stack. I think we did pretty well here, damaged or not. Alright, Oh, lovely. Now we're going to do our best to chase him down. I'll do that off screen, and maybe we'll take a look at those trinkets yet again, though once again, might not want to start using them until we've got a lot more free spirit essence. Either them or the curses. I suppose if we could probably make a couple of emergency ones in case we run into an army, kind of like this army, where we really would like to have debuffed some of the enemies. But anyway. Ooh, there we go. Certainly a close fight and a very proper first episode of battle. The one we were looking for to start this campaign. Gorch and Throt survive, though just barely, and otherwise their armies are all severely damaged. This first army should be destroyed because it was in march stance, though I fear we won't be able to actually reach Throt's main stack, which is a little bit unfortunate because it would have been nice to bring him and Gorch down before moving on. Plenty of kills on our spiders, whether they be hatchlings or the giant spiders. Of course, the giant spiders did way more damage, more than twice as much in some cases. Solid work from the bats, surprisingly, but against things like Skaven Slave Slingers, who are so weak in melee, even the bats can clean the house. Things in the woods did well, though they remain a little bit fragile. We certainly need more, and the Ikshina ambushers were both absolutely critical to our victory, as they were able to bring down the mutant rat ogre, Gorich, and both the summoned and the regular unit of the rat ogres as well, which otherwise we really didn't have any recourse against. It's a little enough captives to not make it worth it, I think, and we healed not as much as we'd like right now, so I think we'll use Saliak Provides and heal right up. Gorge. Throt will back off, and I fear we will not be able to reach him here, which is a shame, but all good. We'll go back to our own territory, wherein we will continue recruiting, but we can do so now. Well, we can get much more units, many more units on the field. We'll still probably need the Kislevite warriors, at least for now, until we can get things in the woods, so I think we'll still build a few of them. They do have much higher melee defense, though lower armor, admittedly, from the spider hatchlings. You know, let's build 2 more spider hatchlings. We'll probably merge these 4 together into 1 unit, or into a couple of units, and then just replace them afterwards as we build. Alright, and, we got the Death Singer. Interesting. Doesn't seem like a Mother Ostankya kind of weapon, but until we can get somebody who can actually make good use of this, I guess we'll give her Death Singer. And, well, the Featherfoe Torque is probably also not super useful to us, but once again, we'll get that on field. Yeah, we got 2 points available to us, and we're definitely going to save them to get into folklore and all of that stuff. Cause fear when fighting against humans, huh? Does that count Warriors of Chaos and stuff? They are technically humans, but I think it just means, like, Cathay and Empire and Bretonnia and Kislev. Stuff like that. Oh, right. This will also give us that Spirit Bear ability, which will increase Mother Ostankya's ability to damage blobs fairly significantly, which is nice as well. We are going to unlock the Boydanov's Brawler's Streltsy, surprisingly before the Armored Kossars, which are actually a cheaper unit. Shouldn't these two be the other way around? Not that it matters over much, but in, well, a turn or so. Frankly, once we attack Prague, that should happen for us. There we go. Deep Cleaner, also for Mother Ostankya. Very nice defeat trait. Free devotion for the territory, and another new trinket. Ah, yes, the Skaven one, which was armor, piercing, weapon damage plus 6. Maybe we could combine that with charge? Charge bonus, and okay, wait, I just want to see things in the woods. Oh, you do have armor piercing damage. In fact, plenty of it. So it probably isn't as needed. We could put that on the giant spiders, but they actually have decent amounts of armor piercing already. Maybe not crazy worth it for them. This would actually be solid on the Watchmen in the Night, or whatever they were called. We could also, of course, you know, curse enemies instead, but, yeah, I'll think about it. I think I like the leadership better for our elemental unit here, so that may be another option. Anyway, I believe we're ready to win another turn. There's not much in the way of building, even though our money is pretty good. Gotta remember that econ for Kislev is, well, it's not great, let's say, especially in the early game. So, I mean, It later becomes insane, but in the early game, Kislev economy is trash. Anyway, I think we can end one more turn, but generally speaking, I think we won't have time for another battle, and that was a pretty darn epic fight, so I think we will probably call this episode here. Gonna be hard to top that. Next time, we will go ahead and take Prague, and then move immediately to wipe out Helpit, and these guys want peace, but they don't want confederation, so... Though it would be nice. Yeah, we'll move to wipe out Prague, or take Prague for ourselves, wipe out Helpit and whatever other territories that Helpit has taken, or that Throt has taken. And, well, we'll see where we go from there. Still gotta wipe out these guys as well. And, ooh, I gotta not make the mistake of allowing Boris Ursus to get wiped out, so we should try to get a hero over there and identify him as soon as possible, which means probably building another one of these huts, or a hut, to get another hag. And then send that hag out there. Or just build the Orthodoxy Chapel for the same exact purpose. Whichever. Definitely on the list, guys. I remember that Boris Ursus exists, and we will try to find him. Anyway, more Stank yet to come, so don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm. And thanks for watching.